This podcast is brought to you by On Track Studio.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome to the Natural Birth Code podcast, mamas. I am so excited to be here for my last ever episode. And I've brought in the amazing Sophie, who is our marketing manager of NBC. And this is our final podcast because we are closing. And I am excited to record the podcast. I was going to say excited about it, but I'm obviously not excited that we're closing. But yeah, we're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about what's next. And yeah, delve into the last 4 years of NBC. I know this has been very anticipated. I should have, honestly, Soph, I should have recorded this podcast much closer to the time of actually launching the closure, because everyone's been hitting me up, why? And I'm like, just wait for the podcast. It won't be long. But it was like, what, a month?
Yeah.
Too long. I left it too fucking long. And here we are on the final week. It has happened to fall into the final week of classes.
Which I guess is good because it's so real.
Yeah.
Now. It's
I
a
reckon
lot to reflect on.
And the emotions may be real as well.
Yes.
So just as a heads up in this podcast, I may cry. Fuck, we forgot the tissues. Anyways.
Oh, should I grab them?
No, we'll be right.
I'll grab them if we need.
Yeah.
They're not far away. So it's
I can bring the dress up if I need.
Yeah. A little hanky.
Yes. So let's do it.
Hi, mamas. Really good to meet you, by the way. But yeah, I'm just here just like simply to converse. So I just want to start by, let's just ask the big old question, like, why are you closing Natural Birth Co, Amy?
Yes. So it was this funny thing. Like, I know everyone's so shocked, right? I was fucking shocked. I was literally shocked. I had not seen it coming. It's not like it was one of those things I'd been pondering for like a year and, was trialing different things thinking, if this doesn't work, I close it. I was gung-ho. There was no plan B. This was how it was going to be. This was what I was going to do for the rest of my entire life. And I was pumped about it. And then I had this thought, and it was one Friday. I remember it so well. And it had been the end of another week, and it had been 6 weeks since we'd launched Birth Circle. And I knew the launch was fantastic because you were behind it, and it was the most strategic thing Natural Birth Co had ever done. We'd done amazing podcasts. We'd gotten all these wicked guests on, which I'm so grateful for. They were fantastic. We had this full strategy, and it got to the end of another week, and there was still no sales. And then I just had this thought, and it just dropped down. And when you have a thought and you know that you've kind of thought it before but not consciously. It's like you have the thought for the first time, but you're not surprised that the thought's there. And what the thought was is that Natural Birth Co isn't a viable business. And as soon as I had the thought, I just knew. I just was like, fuck, I know that to be true, and that sucks. And then, that night, pondering it, I went out to dinner with one of my best friends, and I was talking about it. And obviously it was so fresh, and I was just like crying my eyes out in the middle of the fucking Thai restaurant trying to talk about it. And was like, okay, I've got to punch all the numbers next week. And even though I was doing that, I knew I was just doing that to satiate my logical mind in that it's not going to work. And I knew it was already true. So I did that the next week and realized that I need, something like 300 members every single year and 110 birth workshop mamas every single year to make the business like just viable, just making a little bit of income. Like that wouldn't even provide me with much of an income, but it would be paying its own expenses. And I just looked at those numbers and I had this moment where for ages, when you just feel like I'm unqualified to make this decision. How am I supposed to know? I always felt like I needed someone else to tell me what to do, someone else to guide me, someone else who's smarter than me to tell me what to do. And I had this moment where I was like, you know what? I'm probably the most qualified person in the entire world right now to say whether getting 300 members a year is possible on the Sunshine Coast within a 15-minute vicinity of Maroochydore or Batinia or wherever I ended up, and getting 110 birth workshop mamas a year. Because no one wants to drive further than 15 minutes apparently on the Sunshine Coast. And especially pregnancy, especially for that such a short period of time. And I just said, I just don't think that's possible. I don't believe that that's possible. to get that amount of numbers. And even if it is, it's going to be fucking hard work and for not even that much money at all. And that was kind of like a very consolidating moment for me of this is how it has to be. I know exactly where I want to go. And I had kind of realized that for the last fair few years, I've been trying 1,000,001 things to make Natural Birth Co be what gets me there. And over the, like, Natural Birth Co's been around for 4 years now. I've done so many different business models, so many different prices, so many different versions of workshops, versions of events, so many different things. And then the final plunge was doing the online birth circle. That was amazing and would have been amazing. And that was my final thought as to, okay, as long as the in-person stuff can pay itself, then I can make money with the online. And online's never been my thing. I've never been overly enticed to it, especially because I know where the value is the connection between the mamas. I figured out a long time ago that the mamas don't actually come to me for my fucking yoga, that's for sure. They come for the other mamas. And that is like just a whole value that is completely missed in the online space. And I guess you can have community, you know, online, but it's not the same, especially when you're a mama. And yeah, that was going to be my answer, was Birth Circle, as to like how I can make NBC a viable business. But when that just week after week, like what we got 6 weeks in, and there was just nothing, and I was just like, oh, I just can't keep doing this. I can't keep just flogging a dead horse when it's not working. It's not viable. And it was just a bitter pill to swallow, to accept. I really wanted Natural Birth Co to be the way to get there. And I just had to accept that it wasn't, that it's just not going to be ever. And that's okay. I've accepted that now. It just sucks. And I just wish that it could have been, and it's not. And that's just how it is.
Absolutely.
I did wear waterproof mascara today.
You did. Should I get the tissues?
How good. I'm a fucking smart woman.
You're a fucking smart woman. So true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of why at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, it was, I think Birth Circle was your logic mind being like, well, if this business is going to be scalable, there needs to be another arm in it.
Yes.
And though that wasn't why, like that scalable arm wasn't why you created it. And probably energetically, if you're into that kind of thing, is why it didn't sell, because it wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah.
It was something that you did because you should. And it was going to be incredible, and it was going to replicate, you know, as much as possible, like that community. But yeah, I think it was definitely like a sign for you. It was an invitation. And it's so funny because, like you were saying at the beginning, you know, it wasn't like a long-winded should I, shouldn't I. Yeah. We were like, it was like week before was, I want to have a chat to you about this idea I've got about like another, I think it was an in-person event that you wanted to do for the Natural Birth Co.
Yes.
And anyway, we were going to have this meeting. And it was like, that was said the week before, then the meeting came around and you're just like, all right, I've decided to close. And remember my reaction? I was just like, I like fell back. It was like the most dramatic expression of shock that you've ever seen. And we were in public as well. And I was like, what? Like, you're kidding me. And then I was just like, what the fuck? Because your passion, your why, all the important things were so like deep rooted within the business. And then it was just like that. Yeah. And when you said like, you know, it's actually just not a profitable business model, I was like, fuck, that annoys me.
Totally. Me too. Yes.
You know, so much good, so much impacts, so much, you know, value exchange. And, but yeah, I just think like after the shock, I was like, I'm just so proud of you for like making that call, because as a business owner myself, like that's, you know, there's so much attachment to the work you've put in, like 4 years, is it?
Yes.
In the business to actually just be like, you know what? Like it's this whole thing, like quitting has this like bad rap.
Yes.
But in my opinion, like quitting was the harder thing to do.
Yes.
It is so much easier to save face and keep putting it and maybe get a second job or increase your hours at the hospital and like make it look like, you know, you're successful or it's viable and it's going out of ego or whatever else.
Yeah.
But to make the hard decision to be like, you know what, I love this, but I'm actually going to close the doors to, you know, do something more difficult.
Yeah.
In terms of like doesn't light you up as much is so huge.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Because, you know what, it's so funny where, because essentially I was working at the hospital, didn't love it, and went on this big trip and then came back dead broke. And I didn't want to go back to the hospital full time. I was kind of unsure what to do, what I want to do with myself. Like being a midwife at the hospital isn't quite what I had imagined. And before I went on this big trip, I was just noticing this common trait of, women wanting to go in, wanting a natural birth, and then having a cesarean section or having a vacuum. And it kept being the common terms, which I know people hate, but they'll relate to, is failure to progress and obstructed labour. So these babies just not moving down. So essentially that's where it all started, where I was like, why aren't these babies fucking moving down the pelvis? Like, what's going on? We're meant to birth. Our bodies are made to birth. Why is this not working, in quotation? So then I started the body balancing workshop, which was our very, very first thing. And that was essentially the intent, which it still does, is how to have a progressive and easeful birth. Like allow labours to be shorter. Studies show labours in a hospital setting, they are more likely to be minimal intervention when they're shorter. The longer the labour, the more likely you are to experience intervention. So if we can have easeful, progressive births because our pelvis is all balanced, then that's how we're going to make it happen. So there was literally no thought. Like it wasn't even a business. It was just a fucking thought. So then I like went into all the spinning baby stuff, and I went into the yoga and pregnancy yoga and like chiropractor, physio stuff, pelvic floor stuff, and I learned all this stuff to create this body balance workshop, and it's sick. It's so amazing, and it's still going to be available. And then the mamas wanted yoga, so I was like, okay, I'll just start some yoga. And then they also wanted Pilates, so we started that. And then they wanted more class time, so I started that. And then all of a sudden it just really steamrolled, and then I'm hearing about their births and I'm hearing about their birth workshops. And I'm like, I could make a way better workshop than that. So I did. And then that's out there. And then kind of all of a sudden I was in this business, right? And I just was like, I'm a businesswoman now. I'm Amy. I'm Natural Birth Co. We help women and their partners prepare physically and mentally for a natural birth. That was everything that I was. And then, like as you were saying as well, you get like addicted to the progress. And you get like so in this idea of business and marketing and sales, and it was really exciting. And I had not done anything to do with business before this. I had literally even said the words, I will never own a business. It's way too stressful. And I just had no idea. But then I kind of found myself in this position where all of a sudden I was running this business and I was wanting to run this business, and I was really enjoying it. And
very good at it too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I actually really enjoy business and the thought of it and strategizing it, especially once I hired you, which was literally the best business decision I ever made, ever.
Too kind.
And talking about the strategy behind that was really exciting to me, and it made so much sense, and it was such the missing piece. So I just found that really exciting. And so, the whole experience taught me so much about business, so much about finance, so much about cash flow, and like business models and all of that stuff that I found really interesting. But the more that I learned, and as you know, I decided, I'm now a businesswoman and I have a business. I was learning about business, and every time I would, listen to a podcast or whatever it was kind of, they would say these things, and they're often very cutthroat, these business podcasts, right? They're fucking black and white. And
no wonder we all, as business people, feel like we're failing all the time, because the content we consume is literally saying you're not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is bound to fail.
Yes.
And essentially all this stuff that I heard about, like what makes a successful business, what doesn't, what's going to be a good model, what's not, what's a good target audience, what's not, it kept pretty much pointing towards the fact that NBC isn't a viable business. And that was like this big lingering fear, especially over the last year and this year, of, everything that I was hearing on these podcasts was pointing towards it's never going to work. And I remember hearing this stat, and this guy said, the average lifespan of a business is 10 years. So you want to be at, like, the startup is normal. Of like, there's definitely going to be sacrifice and times that, you know, you're not making money as the founder and that sort of thing. But then you want to be at this stage, like 2 years in, this stage 5 years in, blah, blah, blah. And I remember when I heard that 10 years average, and I'm at like fucking 4.5 years in, and I was like, and I'm still not making any fucking money. Like, myself as Amy, it's paying its expenses and I'm still not making any fucking money. What a slap to the face. And I've got 5 years left, like, statistically.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, that was such a slap to the face listening. That was only this year. That was on that podcast that you sent me.
Like,
was it?
Oh, sorry,
no.
I did it.
No. No.
I'm the reason Natural Birth Co. closed. Shit, I was the catalyst.
I take that back. Jess Morgan was the catalyst, who's one of our mamas. She gave me this podcast called Wealth Time Freedom. It's a great podcast, but they had this guy on who talks about business.
Yeah.
And, just stuff like that has been lingering over the last couple of years when I ended up making that final decision as well.
I think, like, one of the things I totally relate to what you're saying, and these things I listen to as well make me reflect on my offerings, because, you know, they are, the service you provide is, well, for both you and I, it comes from, like, solving a problem for for the mamas, for our ideal client, whoever it is. And that really is, like, some people, you know, the big dogs create a business because there's a market gap, and they do like it all from a strategic, like, reverse engineer point.
Yes.
But for you and I, we started genuinely out of passion, problem solving, you know, and then, you know, one of the things that I hear about a lot to have a viable business is, like, you need to have reoccurring revenue. And for you, obviously, you know, you've got 9 months before, like, a mama has birth, and, like, there's so much going on in that time period.
Yes.
And, like, you know, to have a business like yours, which is dependent on attendance, dependent on, you know, location, like, all these things that are so limiting, like, just straight up limiting in terms of a cutthroat business point of view. Like, of course you're having these realizations, like, oh, actually I can't have a reoccurring revenue model unless I do something like online, which doesn't feel as aligned.
Yeah.
And even that, the life cycle of your client is, you know.
They're going to do that once.
Yeah.
Maybe twice.
Yeah, and it's just like, I completely relate to that. What was the thing for you when you listened to, like, one of those podcasts? Was it reoccurring revenue? What was the thing that made you think, like, natural birth care actually isn't viable?
It was the short-term lifespan of a client. So the second best business decision I ever made was moving to memberships. Yeah. That was fantastic. And
I love that I peaked. I'm above that.
Absolutely, you are above that. 100%.
Yeah. Thank you.
The memberships was a fantastic call, and that was with the intent to create this recurring revenue. It was better for me and it was better for the mamas, and it was the thing that made it more viable, and it wildly increased revenue for NBC. It was fantastic.
And that revenue.
Consistency, cash flow, 1,000,000% better. And the thing is, every single other person on the Sunshine Coast and anywhere around that I can see, there are other places that do pregnancy that do memberships, but none in, like, the near vicinity. Everyone does, like, these 6-week blocks. For some reason, 6 is the magic number. I don't know why. And that is just not helpful, and it's not effective because, it doesn't create cash flow, but it also doesn't hold the mum viable. Like, you give them these packs, and when we're pregnant, it takes barely any excuse to not come. And the thing is, they want to come. They want to be there. They want to prepare their bodies for birth. They want to have a natural birth. They need the motivation to get there. And if they've just got this pack that is valid for, like, 18 months and, you know, it's a 5-pack, they will use that over 2 years, you know? Whereas the membership, it's coming out, it's money coming out. They're going to be much more likely to come. And that goes for all of us, non-pregnant or not.
Yeah,
when you're pregnant, it's freaking tenfold because you're tired, you're working hard, your heart's working hard, your body's working hard, you're making a bloody human. It is hard to motivate yourself to get to a bloody yoga class. Yeah. And it astounds me every freaking day, the mamas that are so consistent with coming to classes, coming to Maroochydore. Some come from all round. I had a woman who lived in Boreen Point recently who was coming regularly to classes. Like, They're incredible. They're incredible. So they need motivation. So that was really helpful going to the recurring revenue. But then at the end of the day, a woman's pregnant. She's pregnant for 9 months. She doesn't know usually for the first 2 months of that. So that's gone. And then she's usually sick for the first 3 to 4 months of that. So then that time's gone. So then you've got, 5 or so months left of her pregnancy. If they're the type of woman that, kicks their ass into gear and does what's got to be done quickly, great. Or if they're the type of woman that already had space for that and they swap it over, great. Lots of women, one, don't have the space for that, or two, it's kind of like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And then by the time, you figure out what birth do I even want? Is there even a way to birth? Is there even a thought? A lot of people haven't had the opportunity to think about this stuff before. So it is so much to process. So by the time they kind of process the fact, I want to have a natural birth maybe, I want to have minimal intervention, I should move my body, what's a good way to do that? Yoga. They're likely on mat leave at 38 weeks. And, that's great for them to come then, but in the sense of strictly business, it's not going to have a viable business from my perspective. And then even if they do come and they kick their ass into gear at, say, 20 weeks, start coming to classes, they might come for a few months postnatal. That's the 6-month lifespan. And $35 a week?
Yeah.
It's fuck all, to be honest. And with the expenses, rent's really expensive, instructors are really expensive.
Yeah.
And it's literally just not enough.
Yeah.
The income just doesn't add up to the expenses. And a lot of classes, some classes were typically really busy and some classes just weren't. So a lot of classes, they were running at a loss. If you only have 1 or 2 clients in the class, with the rent and the instructor, it's just I'm losing money. And that was... and then the ones that would make money would only just cover that.
And a huge selling point is having a variety of class times, but then you're trying to cater to the needs of your mamas, but at the same time it's it's a cost. Did you think about upping membership pricing?
I kind of did, but I don't know. I just couldn't really bring myself to do it. And the thing is that, so 35 is one class a week, and then it was 55 and 65, depending on the length of the contract that they went on. I don't know, my membership to my gym is $45 a week, and that's kind of maxing me out. And these mums are having to buy a whole bunch of other, shit in pregnancy that they think that they need that oftentimes you don't. And you're about to go to a single income and, you often have another baby there. I just don't think that a lot of people would be able to afford more than 55 or 65 a week. And to be honest, even if, that maybe that's some people might hear that as, not an abundant mindset or whatever, but I fucking love the mums that I deal with. I love the mums that, they're just your normal mums. They're just, normal working class people. And, they deserve to be able to come to pregnancy yoga.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really want to...
You don't want to price them out.
Yeah, price them out and only get super wealthy people.
Yeah, because it's not why you're doing it.
It's not really not. It's really not. It's really not. And yeah, I think if I was to do that, I would have to change the entire model because I don't think that there's enough super wealthy people pregnant every single year to just do exactly what I was doing but pay, $100 a week or whatever for it. It would have to be a whole new service of, individualized care plans and, I don't know, all this bougie shit that I love the bougie stuff, but it would have to be a whole new service. And I just didn't want to price out the type of mamas that we get. And we have a whole range of mamas. We have, higher and lower socioeconomic that come to NBC classes currently, but that's because they can all come.
Yeah, and that's the community.
Yeah, that's the community, which, again, is the most important thing. When I started the classes, I just decided to do the cuppers. I don't even know why. I just thought it'd be nice. But that's literally what Natural Birth Co. is the cuppers.
It's cuppers. it's just coffee with your friends disguised as yoga and Pilates. Interesting.
The other day, one of the mamas rocked up for the second class and we were still there just chatting. We hadn't even done the first class yet because
oh my God.
we were just chatting away. And that's just where it's at. Like, they're not there for my classes. They are there for the cuppers. And it's so funny because the mamas listening to this that come and have come, they'll be like, absolutely.
Yeah.
They understand. Everyone else is going to be like, what is she even talking about?
Yeah.
And that is the hardest thing because the mamas that come, they are forever saying, you know, how life-changing it was for them and the community and the mamas, the experience. They, no matter what birth they end up having, like obviously we ideally still want a natural birth. Obviously natural birth is still, you know, best for the pelvic floor, best for the woman's health, best for the baby's health. At the end of the day, it didn't matter what sort of birth that they had, and they always had their most amazing pregnancy and postnatal experience because of the mamas and because of the cuppers. And it was just, yeah, it was the most powerful thing. And how do you communicate that? It sounds ridiculous.
I think this is like a lot of when I've done marketing for cafes in the past. It's, you know, I sit down and I'm like, what's the point of difference? What do you do? And they always say to me, like, or gyms as well. When I used to do some ads for a Pilates studio, it's like gyms and cafes. They're like, it's the community. It's the community. Yes. And I'm like, sorry, but from a marketing perspective, that falls flat.
It does.
Because everyone's saying it. And so I completely resonate with that. Like, I know that's true.
Yes.
But that's not going to be, it's going to hit. Like, if you are scrolling on Instagram, like the mama who's listening to this and you just see, you know, we do this. It's got a great community. Yeah. It doesn't hit you in an emotional, it doesn't evoke emotion.
It doesn't.
Language is so weak when it comes to words like community.
Yes.
It's like what I'm trying to say isn't being articulated through that word. And so, yeah, I completely can understand that. And I think a lot of businesses in your industry / other ones that I've mentioned struggle with that.
Yeah.
But it sucks because it truly is.
It is.
You know, it's like we need to be like in France and other languages, there's more words.
So true.
There's more words to communicate. But in English, we get community.
Yes.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what I feel when I'm in that.
Yes.
What's that word? Let's use that.
Exactly. And like, for example, the other day I told you about this mama that came on the Sunday and it was her second babe that she was with Natural Birth Co. And she literally uses the words like, life-changing. I've never had anything like this with her first babe. It was incredible, blah, blah, blah. What she's saying. And the thing is, even the word that she's saying, I know what she's saying. If she said that to someone else, they wouldn't understand. But these people are literally who go through it. They're like, this is life-changing and invaluable, and I wouldn't even second think paying $1 million to do it again. But it's that first time that is so hard to understand. And that will come out when we talk later about the whole what is it, last little nuggets of wisdom sort of thing, because it's indescribable. But just as someone who has witnessed it for 4 years straight, motherhood, postpartum, pregnancy, the mamas is the most important thing you could ever do for your happiness, your well-being, which then transmutes to the baby, the dad, the family dynamic.
Literally.
And
it truly is life-changing for not just the mama, but the baby, the partner.
Yes.
Their friendships. It is a ripple effect, and honestly, kudos to you because even though obviously you're closing it, but the impact that you've had on the mamas that you have had in the last 4 years is fucked up. So good.
Thank you.
And like to be in the back end of like, you know, ciphering through content, you know, editing podcast birth stories. Like I really see, and, you know, across the Instagram, seeing it all, I'm like, and this is just, I'm not in the classes, which I know is where, you know, the magic happens and the conversations are, but just to see the impact and the transformation that you've done for the people in your community is just like, it's awesome. And it's like people don't make that kind of impact in their whole life. And how old are you now?
29.
So young. And it's like you've already done that. What's next? Which actually we'll ask in a second. Or maybe right now.
Well, no, because actually I know exactly what you mean. Like that is, yeah, I'm going to talk about how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
With my therapist, Sophie.
Yeah.
I just feel, what a fucking gift. Like fuck.
The tissues.
Sorry. I just more like, I want you to be able to hear the words that I have to say, and I'm crackly. What a gift to be able to just feel that right now in my life at 29. I feel so grateful to, what am I trying to say? Okay, how I feel about Natural Birth Co. closing. Full disclosure, I feel really excited and really relieved because there has been many, many, many problems in Natural Birth Co. that I haven't been able to solve, and I fucking love solving problems, and so many things that I haven't been able to figure out. Like, one, the venue situation. I've wanted my own space for years and years and years, and I haven't been able to figure out how the fuck to get my own space and to be able to pay for it. The second thing is the booking software. So many mamas will know, like, just problem after problem, glitch after glitch. It takes so much time. It takes so much money, and that's just like a consistent problem that I've never been able to solve. And I've tried lots of different softwares, and it's a fuck around every time I try a new software, and they're just always impossible. So I feel really relieved to get rid of all these problems. I feel really excited for the next season, and I know this is the right decision. I feel so much, I don't even know if sadness is the right word. I feel so much sadness for the mamas in future who are going to be pretty much replicas of the mums that have come and gone already through Natural Birth Co. that would really want to commit to their birth prep. They're really present, they're ready, they're keen to prepare physically and mentally for a natural birth, and they won't have that opportunity to do with NBC, which I know is the fucking best. That I feel really bummed for them to not have that opportunity, and I really, really, really just had wished that I'd be able to continue to give that to them, because I feel, that just sucks that they won't be able to do that and to be able to receive that. Mm-hmm. And I feel so grateful for all the mamas that have come through for the last 4 years, and I just feel I've been constantly showered with so much appreciation, so much gratitude, so much acknowledgement for all the things. Like, there is just no better feeling than receiving all that from the mamas. And, like, that was not something I had expected at all at the start. That's not something I had realised. Like, I'm definitely not much of I don't see myself as much as a selfless person at all. But just receiving that sort of love, it's just such pure love from the mamas. There is just no better feeling, and I will probably never, ever do something more fulfilling than what Natural Birth Co. has been and what they have given to me and what they say to me. It is just such a fulfilling experience. And how fucking cool is it that I, at 29, have just been in that feeling for like 4 years? Like, what a gift. What a gift to be able to just it literally just fell into my lap, this Natural Birth Co. thing, and I'm just like doing it. And then it's having such a good impact, and the mamas are so vocal with it. What a gift
Such
to be able to fucking feel that.
Once in a lifetime and experience.
I feel like,
for
so
sure.
many people, like, they're just searching, I want to do something fulfilling, something that, lights my soul, blah, blah, blah. And, like, it just fell in my lap, and so many people just can't find that. And it is just the best feeling ever. Like, doing something for others and just that being so recognised is the best feeling ever. And I got to do it while living on the Sunshine Coast with all my friends around me, with the coolest mamas in the world, and having a great time. Like, it was just, I'm so grateful for that experience. I'm so, so, so grateful for that experience. And I do hold anticipation for in future, and I will still get, some satisfaction in the hospital and stuff, but it won't be nearly the same. And I do hold anticipation to how that will feel in not receiving that constantly for the mamas. And although I'm so ready for that next season, I'm so ready to, let go of the struggle and the sacrifice. And that's been something I've just been affirming in my mind for like a good year or so, is that life gets to be easeful. I let go of the struggle and I let go of the sacrifice. I'm just so over this belief and this thought of everything has to be fucking hard work. Everything has to be a struggle. You always have to sacrifice to get anything moving forward. And I really don't believe anymore that it has to be the way. But that would have been the way with NBC. And I am really excited to get rid of that side of things. But What a fucking gift.
Yeah. For you and for the mamas.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel so fucking free though.
Yeah.
I do feel extremely free, which I'm very ready for that next phase because, it's time to water the other plants.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I think like, you know, you have personally sacrificed so much in and as all business owners and startups do, and that's the cost. But now it's like, okay, what other dreams do I have? And I can actually, how can I get towards them? Yeah. So do you want to share what's next?
Yeah. So, watering the other plants.
What plants have we got
here?
The
plants. Well, I definitely, just as like a little side note that this matters, but I'm learning Spanish, which I'm really excited for. I'm really keen to delve into my other hobbies. I've always been a hobbies gal, and I just haven't had time for them. The passion and purpose cup has been chock-a-block, but everything else is bone dry.
That is so fucking true. Relatable.
Yes. So I'm learning Spanish. I'm about to learn piano, which I'm really excited for, something I've been wanting to do for ages. I'm really excited to earn some money. And I'm really excited to be able to buy collagen when mine runs out and not save up for 6 weeks for it. I'm really excited to invest. That's something I'm very interested in, and I've been getting more and more interested in over the last few years. And I really want to kind of delve deep into that. I really want to buy a place. I really want to, you know, invest more in stocks, and like I've been doing that, but it's a measly like $35 a fortnight just to like get cracking. So yeah, I'm excited to delve into that deeper and continue to move into that world, and I find that really interesting. I'm kind of excited to get into that. And then I'm excited to travel. I really, like, in the last 4 years I've been to Bali once, and it just kills me. And it was okay at the start because no one was going anywhere because it was COVID. And then I just feel that's been like unwanted sacrifice, you know, and you're just like, this feels like poor man mentality. The fact that I'm not going it's not like it's a choice anymore. It's like I can't, and trapped. That sucks. Yeah. A trapped sort of feeling. So I'm really excited to travel. And all the 30ths are coming up next year for me and a lot of my girlfriends. And fuck, there's some good trips coming up that we're planning, and I'm really excited about it. Really excited about it. Yeah. Is that all that's coming up? Oh, I guess it's like the mamas would be wondering, like, so what am I doing now, like, with my time? I'm going to be working at the hospital a lot more, which I actually feel okay about. And it's actually funny, in the last month since deciding the NBC thing, you know, and I was kind of contemplating this fact of like, oh, it's not going to be as like purposeful and passionate and stuff. I've had 2 really fantastic scenarios where like I've helped these women and babies in certain situations that they found themselves in at the hospital, and they've seeked me out after and given me all this love and gratitude. And it was just, I feel like it was just very timely, and being like, you can still make a positive impact in the hospital, and you can still, help the mamas.
Absolutely.
So that was, I just thought, really interesting timing. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. I'm also going to be seeking out private midwives to be the second midwife. People keep saying I should do MGP or private midwifery. I have no interest in being 100% on call. I am really relishing in this freedom right now, and honestly, there is going to be no relationship, no contract, no nothing that is going to strap me down right now. Yes. I am just very aware of holding on to that, at least for a little bit. I don't want anything enticing me to just get balls deep into the next thing. Like, I kind of just want to be open for a bit, and I've just got the best situation with the hospital. I'm so grateful to have that right there at like my fingertips to earn good money, and I'm so like flexible with it. I can choose when I work, so no weekends, no nights. And earn good money doing that. But then, do the second midwife thing. Yeah. Which I'm really excited for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that and I'm not even sure how that looks yet. I've got to figure out how that all works.
Yeah. Will you be doing any sort of private mentoring with prep, like pregnancy prep?
I will be doing the birth workshop privately.
Yes.
Yeah, as in like one-on-one, me with couples, which I have been actually doing the whole time, but it's definitely not been like
Advertised.
a selling point sort of thing. Advertised, but definitely be doing that a lot more coming up. So that will just be like, I guess we'll have the information in the notes, but you'll just email my personal email, hit me up, and we'll G up a date. We can either do it on the Sunshine Coast, like at your home, because we won't have a location or anything, or we can do it online if you're not here on the coast. Like, that's fine too. We've done heaps of private workshops on Zoom, and it surprisingly works really well because you're still there, you're live, you're talking, and it's just all online, and it's great. Explaining rebozo is always a bit of a funny task, but we make it work.
What is that?
Rebozo is like, you know, the shawl around the belly that the man pulls up and their mum's in all fours.
Oh, yeah.
That's the rebozo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be challenging. But still possible.
We make it work.
Because at the end of the day, he's got to learn how to do it.
Totally.
So.
Totally.
You can't get involved, really.
That's
just
it.
Yeah.
That's
wow.
it.
Yeah, so good.
So that's what, I'll be doing moving forward. The online stuff, so the body balance and the 6-week yoga series will still be available, but that'll just be like ticking away in the background. So that'll be just available via the link in the Instagram. But
yeah, it's good. Everything's still going to be live.
Yes.
At like all your podcasts, all your resources, everything, which is awesome. Like, so generous of you, Amy. So generous of you. You know, like, because people could really just delve in and prepare, and like with the complementation of like a body balance course as well, you're actually still going to be making so much impact.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
The free stuff that they'll have, which is great. So as you say, the podcast is going to stay live. So much great info in that to prepare you and your partner for birth, mentally and physically. There's also going to be our birth preferences checklist, which is really fantastic. So again, free on the link in the bio. And in here, what we're really prompting you to do is preempt so many decisions that you can make in your pregnancy with your partner. Do your research on them. So ideally in birth, one, you stay completely in your reptilian brain. You're completely in the zone. You're not having to think and contemplate, what do I want to do if I have meconium in my waters when they break? What do I want to do about CTGs? What do I want to do if I have an anterior cervical lip? You already know, and it's already in the fucking birth plan. So no one needs to talk to you about that. And when they talk to your partner, he doesn't need to stress, oh my gosh, what's the right decision? Because I can guarantee you the partner's biggest fear and their biggest challenge during birth is the fact that they're going to make the wrong decision. They don't know what to do. Valid. It's a fucking tricky little web to navigate as a man in, when you don't know birth at all. So we preempt all these decisions. So all they have to do is look at the birth preferences, and same as the healthcare professional, midwife or doctor, looks at the birth preferences, and it's likely all going to be there. So this birth preferences really outlines heaps of the decisions that is really helpful and common things that will pop up during labour that you'll want to preempt.
That's awesome.
Lots of pain relief strategies will be in this birth preferences. The meditations will also stay live on Insight Timer, which are great to do in pregnancy, and mamas love putting them on during birth.
Yeah.
And there's also free, the 14-day early pregnancy preparation guide.
So good.
That has heaps of yoga, breathwork stuff.
Education on certain things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good first, in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's a good initiation into the idea of physical, mental, birth partner prep.
Yeah. The trifecta.
That's
Love
where
it.
it's at.
Yeah, that's so cool. So my thoughts are that you've got probably some insight that you want to just pass on to the mamas, knowing who you are. What's your, parting advice to anyone who is either pregnant or going to be in one day?
Totally. Okay, so there was definitely a couple of little tidbits that I wanted to say that can be super impactful to your birth experience. Okay, first thing is early pregnancy, or whenever you listen to this podcast, but prioritize it as early as possible. Don't leave it. Is figure out your exact due date. the best way to do that, listen to the Great Birth Rebellion podcast. That has an exact podcast called Estimated Due Dates. And you need to be very clear on exactly what your due date is. When you are 12 weeks pregnant and say you know by your by your cycle that you thought you're about 13 weeks pregnant, and then all of a sudden you get your scan results and it tells you you're actually 15 weeks pregnant. That 1, 2 weeks, even 3 days difference doesn't seem like a big deal when you're at 12 weeks pregnant. When you get to the end of your pregnancy, and it is the difference between getting induced or not, you're not wanting to be induced, but say you're at 41 weeks and they're pressuring you to be induced. They're telling you, you know, if you don't, you're at risk of all these terrible things happening that you don't want to hear. Then that 3 days makes a massive, massive, massive difference. That can be the difference between you getting induced or you going into spontaneous labor. Not that induction is always the worst case scenario, but you want to avoid it if you can, if it's for fucking nothing because your due date's just been miscalculated.
Exactly.
So I heard a stat, and I'm going to butcher this, but I'm just going to estimate it, is something like 80% of inductions are done because of a miscalculation of due date. It is massive. Make sure your due date is accurate, and you will likely avoid any complications later on.
Wow.
Much more likely. It is such a simple thing to do to save the future you and the future babe in that birth experience.
Yeah, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, it's super common. And if you have to argue for the date that you know is accurate, do so. Like, don't be a good girl. Be afraid to ruffle some feathers. If you're like, no, this is the date. I know. Someone will know, like, I know I literally had sex here. I know I ovulated here. I know this is my due date.
Yeah.
If you know, you fucking know. And even if you don't know your cycle, but like the 7-week scan says this date, the 12-week scan says this date, so they just pick the sooner one because it's more exciting, because it means you're further along. Absolutely really recommend not to do that.
Yeah.
Pick the furthest one if you can. Because
Yeah.
it's easier to bring your induction forward than it is to push it back. So,
Wow, powerful.
Yeah.
Good advice.
be specific with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was another thing I wanted to say? That's right. Another thing I wanted to say. When you and your partner go into... Oh, sorry. Enter your birth and you go into your birth space. It is your birth space. It is your birth and it is your birth space. I'm going to ball right down to the camera. I'm looking at you to really say it is your birth and it is your birth space and it is your choices. It is nobody else's birth, and nobody else will feel the impact of your birth more than you, your baby, and your husband or partner. So when you go in, your intent is to have the best birth possible for you and babes, keeping each other safe. And that is the intent of the hospital professionals as well. We all want you to have the best birth possible. However, we have to consider other priorities like legalities, like cultural norms, like lots of fear-based mentality that we can experience. Shift work, being tired, and also previous experiences that we've seen that is hindering our decision making. So, you know, as humans, people will project, and we're not acting based on evidence anymore, but we're acting based on fear because we saw this bad thing happen one time that it's making us like sway you in a certain way, which is just all reasonable things to consider. We're all human, but it's important that you as the birthing woman take responsibility of your own birth and make your own choices with your partner. It is not your responsibility to maintain our policies, our procedures, our guidelines. It is not your responsibility to keep us happy, nor is it your responsibility to be a good girl and be agreeable. You do not have to be agreeable at all. And, you know, we can push, we can pull. Essentially, at the end of the day, all we should be doing as healthcare professionals is, yes, telling you our recommended care. Your waters are broken, you've got meconium, we would recommend you go on a CTG. The risk of something going wrong is this. The risk of it being fine is this. And then you make your decision. And then if you say no, based on good knowledge and good recommendation, then all we have to do to cover ourselves is literally say, educate a patient on this, declined recommended care. It is no big deal. However, it is often projected as a bigger deal than what it is to the birthing woman. And I promise you, it's not. It is not your responsibility whatsoever to sustain our policies. So I really want you to walk into that birth space, and although, yes, it's our hospital, yes, we're looking after you, it is your birth. It is not our choices to make. As much as we will make it seem like that.
Yes. And I love that you literally work in the hospital and you know exactly what's up. Like you literally, these are my colleagues. Yeah. And I know what they're going through and I go through and all these things. So it's just like, wow, straight from the horse's mouth.
And I do the same. We'll literally recommend things that I wouldn't do myself because we have to.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's what I signed up for, to work in working at the hospital. But it's not my baby.
Yeah.
Nor is it my vagina.
Yeah.
Nor is it my uterus.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which in the moment of birth, it is like mum is not in the right headspace, nor is dad most of the time. And dads are often freaking up for over 24 hours. That's hard work as well. And also, you guys don't really know, you're not in the right headspace to be making decisions. It's stressful, blah, 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 which is why it's so important to preempt all your decisions. And that's something we work really closely with our mamas and partners with during pregnancy, and really talking about the decision-making process heaps during our birth workshop, preempting so many decisions. And there's no right or wrong decisions, but it's a decision that is based on you and your values, not me, the midwife, and my values.
Absolutely.
And what I'm scared of.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's just being aware of it all. Yeah.
Totally. And say, for example, I might, be happy with going to 42 weeks in my pregnancy when I have a baby. I'm not pregnant, by the way. Some people
the announcement
on that.
Yeah. You're giving it all up. Oh, my God.
And imagine if this was an announcement.
Yeah.
I'm pregnant,
wow.
I promise. Quite the opposite. Fucking 29 single. Anyway. But some people who, maybe you've had a friend who have had, a stillborn or something, they might, with their values, want to go to only 40 weeks and be induced then. Absolutely. You do that. That is your values and your experience and what feels right to you. There's no right or wrong. It's just making the decision best for you and your partner on your own values. So that was a really important point that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And if... I was contemplating whether I'll say this or not.
I saw that.
Fuck it, I'm going to say it.
Will I? You got nothing to lose right now. Everything's gone.
Well, now my job is the hospital.
Oh, true.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but
we won't tell them. Yeah. No one share this to anyone at the hospital. I'm watching you.
So funny. At the end of the day, if your decision isn't being respected, it is okay to ask for a new midwife. We're not all made to be friends. It is a very specific dynamic, woman to midwife. It is not a bad thing to ask for a new midwife. You just get your partner to waltz on out to that desk and say, look, I would just like if there was a midwife more aligned with our birth preferences. The other midwife's not bad. She's not a witch. She's not mean. She just doesn't align with your birth preferences, and that's okay. Let's just ask for a new one.
That's such good advice.
It is
because I would feel way too shy. I wouldn't know that I could do that.
Totally. You wouldn't know, and you'd feel really mean. What an insult. No. Fuck no.
She's getting paid the same rate if she's in your room or if she's out.
Absolutely.
In the hallway, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? It may encourage her to actually reflect on her practice, and you might potentially create a really beautiful birth in the future for another woman with this midwife, because she may have reflected on how she spoke and her intentions and her values. And again, no shame to that midwife. I've literally been that midwife and have picked myself up during the process of natural birth co, realised, oh my gosh,
I'm projecting this.
Yeah, and more so I used to do that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Because it's what you're trained in
exactly.
uni, whatever.
You just don't know better.
Yeah.
And, no compassion for myself back then, but wow, I know so much better now. And it takes that experience of hearing the mama's experiences to be oh, fair, that would have been really mean or hurtful or upsetting or disempowering. So if anything, it's just going to encourage that other midwife to reflect. And it's a complex dynamic. Like, who are we to think that, midwife and women are just going to marry up perfectly every time?
No. Yeah.
So,
wow, such good
ask for a new
advice.
midwife. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to say. In pregnancy, move your body in as many ways as you possibly can. Think about how can we create as many shapes of the pelvis as possible. Mobility equals flexibility, lubrication, creating space.
Which equals
natural birth.
baby coming down.
Yes. Baby coming down.
Yeah.
Descent. Because go back and listen to, I love that this is still there to listen to, the Vaginal Exams podcast. Vaginal exams do not determine progress. The cervical dilation does not determine progress. Baby moving down through the pelvis is what shows us progress. For baby to move down, we need flexibility and mobility of the pelvis. All the joints need to be able to expand and rotate and move up and down for baby to move down. If they're stiff and they're stagnant throughout a pregnancy, they will be stiff and stagnant through birth. So not only will that create a much more painful experience of birth, because we're moving things that haven't moved in a long time, but it's also not going to move as much. So baby's not going to have as much space. So move your body. Walking's great. It is not enough. It is not enough to just walk every day in your pregnancy. You need to do more. So yoga and Pilates is honestly the best. Swimming's also really good. Yeah. And you would be amazed, even if you're time poor, I get that. You would be amazed at what one consistent class a week will do for your pregnancy, your body, and your birth. It is astounding. I'm always astounded by how much one class a week does for a pregnant woman. Her starting at 20 weeks to her being at like 35 weeks, so much easier. She has so much mobility, so much flexibility, such little pain from one yoga class a week. So move your body in pregnancy. That's such a fantastic thing to do during your pregnancy. And also we've got obviously our body balancing, which is literally designed for the pregnant woman to have a natural birth. So very specific movements. That's a combination of like physio stuff, chiropractor stuff, spinning baby stuff, midwifery, traditional techniques to put your body in the best position possible to give your baby plenty of space to be in the right position and move down through the pelvis. It is what it's made for.
Yeah, I'd be getting that body balance, like whatever you've still got available, because it's literally for that.
Literally for that.
Yeah.
And it's $99.
Easy.
Anyways, that's that. One more thing I wanted to say as a little nugget is, which I kind of touched on before, in pregnancy, but more so motherhood, you got to get out of the house. Even if your baby sucks at being in the car, it cries the entire time. I appreciate how stressful that would be. Even if your baby's colicky, even if they don't sleep, you must get yourself out of the house. You must get yourself with other women, other mamas, same age. Figure out a way to create that community. Facebook groups are great for that. Doing different activities is great for that. But even if you don't have money, just jump on Facebook groups and catch up in the parks. I literally love, to this day, the mamas from 2 years ago at Natural Birth Co will send me photos of them catching up with other NBC mamas from 2 years ago, and their babies are now like old, and they're sharing a photo of them just hanging out in the park with their babes. Oh, by the way, keep doing that, because I love receiving those photos and those messages that we're catching up. And you must see other mamas. It is so important for your mental health. And I find it much easier to start it in pregnancy because everything's just harder once you've got babies. But in pregnancy, start that group with women who are birthing all around the same time as you, and then you continue to see each other postnatally. Such a massive difference to your entire experience. And that is exactly all the stuff that the mamas go on about to me now. You know, a lot of them, it's about their birth. But it's always, always, always about the community and the mamas, and what an incredible space it's been to get that community. Yeah. That's the biggest game changer, whether their birth went to plan or not. Whether their birth went to plan or not.
Absolutely. Such good advice.
So I reckon, I think that was the 4 things.
Yeah, you had 4. That was 4. Powerful. In terms of, obviously we've said that things are all what's going to be left open and everything. when they do want to get in touch with you though, where do they go?
They're going to email my personal email address, which is just amypulinich@gmail.com.
There you have it. No business attached. You're on first and last name Gmail basis now. Welcome to Inner Circle. I love it.
We're all friends.
Yeah. So exciting.
Yeah. And obviously, like all the current members, they'd have my number. I'm going to be taking that off though because way too many like telemarketers and stuff. Yeah. But obviously, you can always text me, like the current mamas. But newer mamas, that email is going to be on the Natural Birth Co Instagram. You can email me at any time with different questions or things that you want. Birth workshops. Yeah, get around all the freebies.
I'm so sad for my like Natural Birth Co career to come to an end because I just loved doing the marketing this year. Just so good. Like, yeah. So thank you so much for the opportunity to work so closely with you and with, to put your message out there because honestly, it was so fulfilling for me as well, as I've said to you many times.
That's just the best. I've said to you many times when I'm going to say it to put it out there. Everyone who doesn't know Sophie, no babies. She's not a mum. She doesn't have friends that's mums, really.
No, none.
Knows nothing about pregnancy and birth before. And it has been astounding just how much you have, like, all of the captions, everything that's on my social media, everything that's in every single email you've received this year has been from Sophie. And that's just been you, like, listening to the podcast, listening to my stuff. And now you're such a whiz about natural birth and you know what's important to the mamas and the pregnancy and the mums and bubs. And it has been astounding to see how much you've learned. Like, literally, I'll read some of the stuff and I'm like, fuck, couldn't have said it better myself. Who's the midwife here? Like, did I say that somewhere else and she's just copy and pasted it? No. And it has been, I didn't know that someone could do that. I didn't know. Like, I had in my head when I was hiring a marketing manager that I was like, oh, they're going to have to be a mum so that they understand. And no, they really don't.
Yeah, another one of my clients is in the music industry and before he got me on, he said to me, he's like, Soph, do you know anyone who's got your skill set that's interested in music, who's like really into music? And I was like, no, sorry.
Yes.
I don't. And then anyway, he's like, I really want, and it was the same thing. And then anyway, he ended up being like, I'll just get you to do it. And I'll just fill in the blanks. I'll just tell you what you need to know.
Yes.
And he's just like, what the fuck?
Totally.
You can just do it without me. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I've got...
Yeah. It's very humbling as well because I remember I literally said to you and I was just like, this could come across a little bit staunch, but I was like, I know Soph can handle it. And I just said, look, we'll give it a go with like you cutting the sound bites from the podcast because I thought initially I was going to have to tell you which parts to cut so you knew which parts were important. And I thought I would see you posting sound bites on my Instagram. Then I was like, that's such like a not impactful or interesting piece of content. But literally I said to you, oh, give it a go for the first month. And if you flop, I'll do the sound bites.
You'll handle it.
And you were like, what did you say? Like, haha, challenge accepted or something like that. Or like noted, I guess we'll see how I go. Yeah. Like no fucking pressure.
A test.
Yeah. And it just went so well. I was like, it was the most easeful thing. Not like, and it was very much one of my, like I was affirming to myself constantly last year, it gets to be easeful. I am supported and I am guided. And then you came into my life out of fucking nowhere wanting to do this marketing manager role.
Literally.
And I remember I was saying to you as my business coach at the time, I literally want you, but a younger version that's willing to work for less than what you're worth.
Yeah.
And then you obviously came up not long later.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I was telling all my friends, I manifested Sophie.
You fully did. Because you did plant seeds and then because I was helping you like as your business coach to write the job description and I was looking at the job description and being like, because as a podcast agency owner, I don't get to do as much marketing as I want to because I'm like running the business, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck, this role looks so good. I was like, I love marketing and, and it really opened my eyes to be like, I can do it all. And you were the first, person I took on for that. And it's been so good.
And it's been the most, I've never felt like it's been the most easeful thing ever. The transition was so fucking easy. And I've never felt so supported and guided in my business ever.
Wow, I love that.
Ever.
It's a bit of a business lesson even if you are in business, because I think that it's so common for us to just like hold on like so tightly to parts of the business or parts of the tasks. And it's just like same for me. Like as soon as I delegated like the editing, for example, for podcast editing, it was like, oh my gosh, there's someone who's passionate about editing. It's not to say I hate editing completely, but I'm like, there's someone who this is their favorite thing in the whole world. Let them do that so I can do, you know, marketing for businesses or strategies. And it's just like, I'm so grateful I let go of that as well. And I feel like it's similar because it's like, I love marketing.
Yes.
You love midwifing / you know, natural birth coing.
Yes.
Teaching, all the things.
Yes.
And it's like, it just, you know, let go.
Let go.
Yeah. And it can be a lot more enjoyable.
And it is quite humbling, as like your guy from Beat Street and myself have experienced, where it's like we think we're so important. No one can have the same knowledge as us. No one can do what we do. And then Soph rolls in and is saying what we want to say but better. And it's like, wow.
To be fair though, it's because, you know, there's a system of like, you know, I had to ask you the right questions. I had to listen. I had to absorb. It all came from you. It wasn't like I was like, you know, rolled in and whatever and just knew about any of it. I just was like, knew the right questions to ask, knew, you know, to get the right information in order to do that. And yeah, it is good. But there are horror stories out there where you just hire like a marketer or a, you know, an assistant to help you and they've got no idea. It's more work. And like I hear about all the time and I think, it, you know, it makes sense that you're fearful about that.
Yeah. And they don't take, I want to say initiative, but I almost want to say something a bit more impactful. But like I would just kind of give you this vague like, just do something with this.
Yeah.
And you would just be like, okay. And I would see an email come out and I'd read it and I'd be like, that sounds amazing. I'd see reels come out and be like, that sounds amazing. And I didn't even know what I wanted and you just figured it out. You just made it happen and you just went ahead and did it. So actually, I'm going to jump on this opportunity to say, obviously now you're not doing NBC stuff anymore, but you're keen to work with other businesses doing marketing.
Yeah, if you're heart-centered. If you're heart-centered like Amy and you don't like marketing and you have and you want to hire me, I've got space now. Jump in quick. I've got space, sadly.
And it'll go quick because I've actually already sent like 3 businesses your way because they were all like obviously I talk with like so many other business owners about this stuff. And when I hired you, I just was telling them all, like, all this year, like, oh, my God, Sophie, da-da-da. And they've been like, I need a Sophie. And I've literally just gone and told them all, so I know that they're going to reach out and be pumped. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Send you an email.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any final things you want to say to the mamas? Last final podcast.
How crazy. I love you all so much. Yeah. That's it.
Oh,
it's sad.
It is sad.
I reckon that's it.
Okay, well, bye, mamas. I'm going to go get the tissues now. Thank you for listening.